Hello YouTubers, this is the noobifier. This video has been on my to-do list for over a year. It was actually supposed to be the very first video in the job series. I ran into issues defining how the systems might work because the information from official sources simply wasn't there. I shelved it and moved on. Recently, I had an opportunity to have my questions answered during the My Radar interview with Tony Zee. I now have a much clearer idea how this will work, and I'm finally able to cover this topic. There were originally two main stumbling blocks. Would a bounty hunter have their gameplay ruined by a player logging off? And would a bounty hunter be able to ruin the mark's gameplay by taking a really long time to drop them off? Let's begin. As an org, enemy contact is a PMC, which means mercantile type missions. These will likely include manhunting, tracking, intelligence gathering, generating pattern of life, and obviously bounty collection. The org could perform these tasks for retribution or just for a paying client. First, I'd like to get something out of the way. Most Western and sci-fi movies often have wanted, dead or alive. This component is normally part of bounty hunting. With a lack of clear direction from the dev team, I'm going to approach this topic of bounty hunting in Star Citizen as apprehending only. I believe in the future there should be the possibility for lawless retribution in deep, unregulated space. Anything I say beyond that would be theory crafting and won't be part of this video. I'd like to know what you think, so please consider posting in the comments of the video. So, why would we need bounty hunters? Shouldn't the police or military be responsible for this? Shouldn't they be enforcing the peace? Just like in real life, resources are limited or may not be part of the mandate of that organization. Within Star Citizen, we have the advocacy, an extension of the law with a darker mandate. The police and security would handle the day-to-day. Advocacy specializes on manhunting fugitives. I suppose it's more like the CIA. The advocacy has a mandate and practices that could extend to the outer areas of the patrolled space. Eventually, even the elite would find a limit, and within our lore, there was also mention of a bounty hunting guild. Whether that becomes something that CIG adds, or something that a player org decides to create, I'm sure it'll be in-game. The tools of the trade that are known within the bounty hunting mechanics are normally aimed at disabling or subduing the mark. When on foot, the current known means would be the Faction 9 stun baton and the M34 restraint set. These were offered as part of the upgraded Cutlass Blue package that are no longer listed on the website. We've seen examples of lethal melee takedowns at SidCon 2016, there would be non-lethal takedowns, and there were examples of dragging mechanics demoed as part of the medical gameplay. Wait for the right moment, sneak up, knock out, drag, and detain. The next thing that player knows, they're detained and in your custody. As far as ships are concerned, technically any ship could be used, but there are three that stand out for the task. The Avenger Stalker was designed from the ground up with security in mind. It comes with basic distortion weapons, which will drain systems and help immobilize a ship. After that, you would still need to somehow breach, board, pacify, secure, detain, and then drop off the mark for payment. This ship is equipped with a suite of 4 cells. The Anvil Hawk is the newest ship for this job. It's the only one of the 3 that has an EMP generator fitted standard, plus distortion weapons. It has a single cell at the rear of the craft, which is very secure. Unlike the other 2, once the mark is locked down, they actually have nowhere to go. The Cutlass Blue is the 3rd purpose-built craft for security, and it's ideal for this job. The Cutlass has the option for many more players to team up and work together. In my first example, I mentioned the complexity of immobilizing a ship and then boarding it at the same time. The other players in this situation could concurrently board the ship while the pilot keeps the target immobilized. So how does a bounty hunter make money? Bounty hunters are usually law-abiding citizens who are educated professionals. They know the law, they have the training, they have the gear and the contacts to be successful. They aim to make a living doing the stuff that other people don't want to do, the dirty business that others can't or won't. Research, intelligence gathering, and then tracking. The payment must cover the operating costs, plus your risk and effort. The better your track record, the more you might be able to charge. Like other jobs, the game mechanics are going to start basic and then will be added over time. This will help you flesh out the art of finding and tracking your mark. Tracking devices, security cameras, security grids, and tips from NPCs might be all you need to reacquire the trail and continue. People might not even know that there's a bounty placed on them. That short trip that you decided to take to Area 18 to get supplies might catch your face on security and make you accessible again. The hunt continues. During the My Radar interview, my specific question to Tony Zee was, bounty hunting a live player sounds very challenging. Have you thought about how that might be handled if a player just logs off? Is it too early to tell, or do you have some idea how this might work? Tony Zee did a great job clearing this up. Leaving the game by logging out won't clear your record. Time will not reduce your reputation or criminality. There's no cooldown. Scenario 1. You're tracking a player and you have him in sight or active on a scanner. If that player decides to log off, they would remain persistent from your perspective. You'd be able to do all the usual things: distort, EMP, board, detain, secure, transport, and collect his bounty. The next time that player logs back in, they're going to find themselves detained and not where they expected to be. Scenario 2. You're tracking a player and you don't have him in sight. If that player decides to log off, then the trail goes cold. The next time that player logs back in, he's once again trackable. As the player would interact with more systems, as they go through security checkpoints, as they use kiosks, buy fuel, they would become more and more visible, giving the bounty hunter a new point to start from. This solution is very good. It's a very fair balance between the two extremes that halted my work on the video to begin with. Tony also discussed how he sees the life of a criminal. The plan is to make the life of a criminal more and more difficult. Fencing stolen goods may sound like pure profit, but that would be offset by a higher operating cost for supplies and services that the criminal will no longer have easy access to. His scenario had to do with fuel and repair. A law-abiding citizen would be able to go to Cryastro and pay. The criminal would have to decide if it's worth popping up on the grid for that service. The more you're wanted, the harder it might be to perform basic operations, adding to personal risk or cost. His balance between the full-time persistence and simply logging off when it gets too hot makes a lot of sense. We have to consider how a bounty would be applied to a player to begin with, and if the bounty hunter should be able to hunt NPCs as well. The first question is very easy. This can be broken down into automatic bounty and then player added bounty. Auto bounty would be like a running tab that would stack up as you crashed into players and shot ships. Just like the current wanted level, it would go up and make you much more interesting to other people. I can see hacking terminals as one way to reduce or clear, and I can also see just paying the bounty, like paying a parking ticket. A sort of deterrent and a simple way to carry on. Player bounty for minor offense. Let's say you really pissed someone off and they wanted to put a massive bounty on you. First, I believe that they should only be able to put a bounty on you if you're a criminal and they're not. The idea of a fully open bounty system would open up the possibility for player trolling. This is true also for the idea of an excessive bounty being placed on one player. Let's say that you shot a player's shields and did a hit and run. I don't think it's appropriate for them to be able to put a 50 million UAC bounty on your character. Personally, I'd like to see a limit based on the current crime stat. If you're a minor criminal at level 1, that could have a bounty limit of 10,000 UEC. If that value's already been placed on you, then other players shouldn't be able to stack it higher. Once the bounty is paid or collected, the player is clear and free to go. Now the big one. Player bounty for major offense. Unlike the last scenario, let's say that that player is a known criminal who has chosen this as his path. The wanted level is based on years of deliberate criminal behavior. As the level goes up, the bounty ceiling goes up, and one day, one lucky bounty hunter will get a big payout for tracking better and being one step better than the others. And there you go. Thanks very much for spending your time with me today. The videos in the job series take a lot of time to research properly. If you liked this video and got something out of it, please help me by linking it to your org's Discord or sending it to a friend who might be interested. I see some possible exploits for some proposed game systems such as bounty hunting and insurance. I'm planning to cover these in the very near future. Hopefully, by discussing them, we can troubleshoot a way to make the game fair. Please take a look at the job series playlist. Right now there are 10 videos in this series. Please stay tuned as I've now included the original interview with Tony Zee. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.
We've got one question from the noobifier. Bounty hunting. Bounty hunting a live player sounds kind of challenging. Have you thought about how that would be handled if a player just kind of logs off? Is it too early to tell, or do you have some thoughts on how that?
No, they can log off. Basically, if you log off, your character will remain, your ship will remain, etc. as long as someone else has got you in view. In other words, what we won't allow is, you've got a bounty on your head, I'm chasing you, and you log off and your ship disappears. Nope, your ship, I can see you, I'm right next to you, your ship will remain, you'll remain, I can basically, you log off, your ship stops, I board it, I shoot you, I get credit for the bounty. Alternatively, I don't have you in my sight. I'm tracking you. You're way over there. I'm way over here. I can't see you. I'm not in proximity to you. You log off. Sure. At that point, your character is gone. I can't interact with you, until you come back online. But the transgressions that are on your record, the fact that you've got a criminal record, the fact that you have a bounty on your head, those things don't go away until you deal with them. Just like in the real world, it's like, well, if you're basically wanted for murder on Tuesday, you're still wanted for murder on Wednesday. So the next time you log on, then anybody that comes into contact with you, or that's basically tracking your trail, is going to potentially be drawn to you if they're looking to actually take out people with a bounty on their head. And so it's about as realistic as you can make it in terms of, well, obviously we can't keep your character in the game forever, in perpetuity, when you're not there. But at the same time, we don't want to allow you to use that as an easy exploit to avoid the guys that are inevitably going to be coming for you. Like bounties, there will be... There's a lot to it, and a lot of this will be tiered in over time. But for example, bounties will likely throw off all sorts of clues that trackers can follow in terms of, I've got a bounty on my head. I go to Area 18. The camera basically facially recognizes you and notes on the bounty hunter network, or however we wind up implementing it, that you've been seen at Area 18. And so all of a sudden, if you've got a bounty, if you've been, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier in terms of the system being auto-correcting, auto-balancing. It's like, well, you've been doing bad stuff. You're going to find it very hard to survive in an area where there's law and order, because law and order will basically start pushing back. And so then eventually you pay your fine, you basically pay your debt to society, or you get killed, it resets, whatever the case may be. What you will learn over time is, hey, when I'm bad and I do things that put a mark on my record, life becomes very difficult for me. So I'm going to do less of that, because I don't like people coming up and and basically and taking me out when all I'm trying to do is refuel, or when I'm basically trying to transport cargo, doing whatever it is you do. And so what you'll wind up having is, some players will do it, but they're going to have to be more clever about it. So pirates will basically hang out in the lawless areas, and they'll dip into the more secure areas. They'll have to tolerate the fact that security will, NPC security and player security will be drawn to them when they're in that secure space. Anything that could basically detect, their position, who they are, etc., will ping interested parties, let them know where you are. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring a lot of traffic towards you. And so what you'll wind up seeing is players adjusting their play style to compensate. Well, I'll hang out in the lawless area, I'll go into the secure space, I'll take out a freighter quickly, salvage it as quickly as I can, because I know people may be coming, security may be coming at any minute. Then I'm going to jump in my ship, and then I'm going to get back to the lawless area. And this starts to put, you have lots and lots of consequences where all of a sudden, well, out in those lawless areas, you don't have nearly as much supply in terms of weaponry. You don't have the level of expertise in terms of the ability to repair hulls. And so all of a sudden, the prices you have to pay out there to re-equip your ship, or to repair your ship, or to get fuel, or whatever, might be 2 or 3 times more expensive. And so you'll find yourself going, well, I really wish I could basically cruise over to over to this planet, or to this moon, or to this outpost, in order to basically get those consumer goods that I need to basically survive. And it's like, so you've got a record a mile long. It's like you're gonna face it's gonna be a really difficult trek for you to get in there and and basically do that.
Very cool. I'm kind of curious on this one. You don't have to answer if you don't think you have the answer yet. But will you ever be able to pay off your own bounties?
We've talked about being able to pay off your own bounties, and I think probably just like in the real world, where we'll wind up going, it's not completely, we haven't reached a final decision, but I think where we're headed is that you'll be able to pay off lesser transgressions, and the bigger ones you're just going to have to deal with. And by that I mean, if you've killed lots of people, you're going to either get killed, we'll reset the meter, or basically you have to do the prison time or whatever the case may be. If you've done theft and other smaller things or not done as much of it, then we'll allow you the capability to just go wash those from your record. And this security bounties, etc. All of this stuff. It's going to apply less pressure when you've done very, low-key crimes and stuff. You're not going to have, the big beefy battleships showing up when all you've done is basically, jaywalk across the street or something.